Hello everyone and welcome back to Baku, Azerbaijan, where the FIDE World Cup is ongoing. It's quarterfinal day for the open section and semi-final day for the women's section. I'm Grandmaster David Howell and I'm joined by the fantastic, the legendary Grandmaster Peter Leko. Peter, it's been maybe a quieter day than we're used to so far in this fantastic event, but yeah, you predict it's going to heat up at some point.
Yes, definitely it will heat up. I also feel like I'm remembering your wise words at the beginning of the show, that it could be understandable if the players would make it a little bit more quiet. Yeah, there is so much tension, everybody wants to get into the semi-finals, and you don't want to do crazy things, you don't want to do unforced errors, making life much more easy for your opponent, and we see a lot of maneuvering there. I also would like to use the chance and ask you, you have been there, we already talked about the result and the disappointment that you got knocked out by Wangfao, but tell us about your routine. How was it like as a commentator also, that how do you settle into a fighting playing mood?
Yeah, good questions, Peter. Tough questions as well. As you know, I mostly commentate these days. I do a bit of a few other things. I teach a bit, but it had been my first competitive chess, playing at the board for I think 5 months, and I was a bit rusty. I'd studied a bit beforehand, but I actually made my first blunder before the tournament started. I didn't realize I would be one of the top 50 seeds, so I booked to arrive 2 days before round one. And then, of course, I realized only just beforehand that I got a bye in the first round. So I ended up arriving, 5-6 days before I even moved a piece. So it was nice to be there, kind of close up with the players, see what was going on, acclimatize. But at the same time, the nerves were building. I didn't necessarily get into a good routine. I went to the gym a few times. I saw the two players we have on our camera going to the gym together pretty much every evening. That was quite entertaining, actually. But yeah, my sleeping pattern was still terrible. I was waking up, I think around 11 a.m. I would miss breakfast, and then I would try and peak a bit later in the day, or at least that was my excuse. But somehow I was still a bit sleepy when the first moves were played, and I would never warm up until the 3rd, 4th hour. I think that's my excuse for getting knocked out in the playoffs, the tie breaks, when there was no time to warm up. But yeah, that's how I've done things historically, and I think that's one good thing about commentating. You can you can be flexible with your sleeping pattern, but with chess you have to get all the details spot on. And yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't at my sharpest. I didn't make any huge blunders until that tiebreak, but I wasn't quite at my sharpest, my best. Yeah, so mixed feelings about the whole experience, but it was great to be there to see these players up close. And I must say, I'm glad to be here sitting with you rather than just feeling the intensity of that tournament hall. It's scary, I've got to say that.
Yes, I also talked with Vincent after the tournament, and he said, he has never felt anything like this World Cup. Yeah, the tension, every single move is so important. You cannot relax for a single second. Yes, normally you finish your game, you would like to have a little quieter evening, but you already have to think about the next game. And it goes on. If suddenly it's 2 draws, then you can't relax because the crazy playoff is coming. So much pressure on the players. It did amuse me when you told me that you were missing breakfast, because that's exactly my kind of attitude as well. I just can't get to breakfast. I'm missing breakfast ever since, I think, the last 10 years. I haven't been to breakfast. Maybe only in the last round. Yeah, when the last round is suddenly at 12 o'clock or 11 and you have to. Yeah, forced to, or before catching an early flight, checking out of your hotel. Otherwise, during a tournament, I'm not able to catch a breakfast.
Yeah, and these World Cups are tough because there's so much uncertainty. It's like, when will you get knocked out? When will you travel back? I hadn't booked a return flight. I thought I'd back myself and be optimistic, not book to fly home too soon. But then every 2 or 3 days, the hotel call you. It's like, are you checking out? Like, are you keeping your room? And it's a lot of kind of stress combined with the rest days as well. I was kind of telling Magnus, I'll join you to play some golf on the rest day. But every time I would get into the playoffs, the tie breaks, there's no time to relax, so much stress. And it's intense. There's nothing else like it. I mean, I love it, but at the same time, as a chess player, it's really pushes you to your limits. And we've seen that throughout with all the top seeds, or a lot of the top seeds falling at early stages. Oof. I'm getting flashbacks just thinking about it now.
Yeah, this also now gives us the chance to look at the games. Well, the games are slow, we talked about it, but we have to catch up. For example, with the Pragnanda Erigaishi game, there had been quite some developments. We had that status quo with the knight on e5, bishop on e6. Then your move queen d2 had been played. Queen a8 was a nice way of protecting that rook on a5. The queen is doing a great job, plus also gives the chance for black rook from f8 to join the party on c8. White played e3, rook c8, knight d3 back. Yeah, very nice little regrouping. The knight is heading towards c5. Black goes bishop f5. h3. Wow, that's a mysterious move, but okay, we have to continue. Bishop takes d3. Black voluntarily gives up the right square bishop because he felt like that knight on d6 is a monster. Queen takes d3, e6. Very nice regrouping. Black is going for the strategically very important bishop f8 idea, covering the b4 square, making sure that the black squares are under control on the queen side. Rook fd1, bishop f8, bishop f1, white does the same. Beautiful maneuvering, and knight b4 brings us to the current position.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it looks very balanced. The pawn structure resembles an exchange Slav. And yeah, you mentioned that bishop for knight trade. At least in these closed, blocked kind of central structures, the bishops matter less. But yeah, if everything disappears, maybe white's got some potential there. Knight to b4 asks the question where the white queen is going. I was going to say queen to d2, but maybe knight a2 could be an idea, just to trade off some pieces to try and bring black's rook, black's bishop into the game. Okay,
yes.
Yeah, this looks quite attractive for black suddenly. He plays queen to e2, Prag. Okay, blocking his slight squared bishop. Feels slightly loose.
Okay, but there is a purpose, yes, because after queen d2, knight e2, knight a2 was so strong, and I think that the big difference is that now the queen has access to the b5 square, so that's why the move queen e2 was so important for Prag, that he's able to answer this knight a2 with a trade and queen b5, asking the only question to black's position that awkwardly plays knight on b6. What do you do with that knight? And because of this reason, I feel like after queen e2, we won't be seeing the move knight a2.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I mean, it looks like it makes no difference whatsoever. Queen e2 looks clumsy, if anything, but there's always a point when these top players play these little retreating moves. There's always a little detail or nuance behind their idea. So if instead of knight a2, what else?
Can you start attacking the knight with rook a3? Of course, you give up the b5 square again, then we have to calculate, but queen b5 maybe runs into rook takes b3.
Ooh.
Is that an option? Let's put it on the board. We can analyze.
Yeah, let's put that on. Queen to b5.
And then rook takes b3 would be my idea.
I wanted to play rook a1 and try and trap your queen.
Wow!
But
yes, you even have such
goes on.
ideas.
There's rook a3. There's still rook a3.
Wow.
Oof.
Yes, but very interesting. Yeah, so much to calculate. Seemingly it's a strategical position. Nothing much is happening. The players are just maneuvering, regrouping, but every single move has so much impact, and you have to anticipate your opponent's moves. So let's go back to queen e2, rook a3, queen b5. Okay. I get access to the engine, and the computer says, you know what? Okay, please tell me another move apart of rook takes b3 that crosses your mind with black.
Queen a5, a6. I'm not sure which one.
That's why I was asking you, because also for me, somehow I completely miss computer's move that there is a very strong rook c8 to c6, just protecting. But somehow it was so natural for humans that we want to make sure that our queen from a8 is activated, something will happen. But actually rook c6 and white is the one who has to be careful, because there's no good way of protecting the b3 pawn.
Yeah, suddenly ideas like queen c8 as well, forcing white on the defensive. So, okay, rook a3 looks very natural and very tempting then, and it's very kind of Arjun Erigaisi type of move. If he can be direct and energetic, then he likes to be. So how does white react if rook to a3?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, basically, but if we defend, we give up on being ambitious, right? Because the defense with queen b2, yeah, it's probably the only way to defend. Queen b2 probably enables you to play knight a2 again, and we get to very similar positions like what we might have been seeing after queen d2, knight a2, which wasn't in Plak's intention. Yeah, he decided on queen e2 in order to fight against knight a2, but if rook a3 move, we'll be able to force him back to this knight a2 idea, then it could be very, very tempting for Arjun.
Yeah, I think we'll see it on the board. He'll calculate and figure out there's nothing to be scared of after queen b5. And yeah, other than rook a3, I mean, he doesn't need to rush necessarily, but you kind of want to do something if you can. You want to accelerate the play if white has the bishops, and it looks like black is ready to do so. I don't see what else, to be honest. Maybe rook c6 first, if he sees that idea.
Yes.
Yeah, very
if he sees, because actually rook c6 has this idea of activating the knight. Knight c8, knight d6. We talked about the monster knight on d3. That's why black has actually traded off his lovely light square bishop with bishop takes d3. And if ever that knight lands on d6, white might be also tempted just to get rid of that knight with bishop takes d6. Yeah, okay, I believe that we have talked enough about this position. We can move on. And by the way, rook a3 on the board, so all eyes on Prag. He has to actually anticipate that this queen b5, rook c6 might be quite awkward for white, and he has to be careful with the white pieces.
Yeah, it might be time to go into reverse gear and just play safe now. It looks like both players have played extremely well and accurately in this game. And yeah, you wanted to move on, Peter. Maybe we can check out the game between Dominguez and Caruana. It looks like that is changing slightly, or at least black has grabbed a pawn temporarily. And we need to work out what is happening here.
Yes,
Caruana
wow.
playing very ambitiously.
Yeah, okay. My favorite is to go back. So yes, we have seen this d4 move played by Fabiano. Bishop d2, followed it up with knight g8, the move that was also kind of very tempting for me. Now white plays the move queen a2, showing a lot of courage, basically making sure that, you know what, I'm not afraid of ghost. Please go on sacrifice because you are still pinned on the c file, so it won't be able to coordinate the forces. So that's why Fabiano says, you know what, I would like to sacrifice, but I can't. Let me play something else. So rook a8, queen bc, knight g7 happened. White is fighting for the a file, but by doing so, he actually gives up the b4 pawn. So we get from strategical game to a very concrete game now. And Fabi captured with the bishop.
I guess if he had captured with the knight, then he would have lost his e5 pawn. I mean, something to be said for that. It looks a bit awkward for white as well. After knight takes e5, queen d6. I guess the knight just retreats to f3 and...
And then good luck. Yes, good luck understanding this. Yeah, with this bishop on c3, white has a good structure, but on the other hand, this is a monster bishop.
Yeah, this looks beautiful for black, but he didn't go for this. Maybe there was a reason not to. Instead, he took the other way, Fabiano.
Because after queen d6, yeah, again, this is computer's help. Computer says rook d1. We simply don't have enough time, and we haven't been here from the beginning to understand all the nuances. We need help, and rook b1 is the computer move, making sure that black is not able to place that bishop on c3, then the pawn on b5 is hanging and the knight is protected. So black would probably capture then on e5, rook takes b4, and now without that bishop, one could already kind of understand why Fabiano was not that happy about this transformation. The pawn on d4 is vulnerable, the pawn on b5, white might have some queen b2, knight e2. Who knows, eventually if that knight ends up on f3, it's still a long journey, but if it ends up on f3, we see that black's position has the tendency or the potential to collapse. It's just a long-term danger, which Fabiano did not want to allow.
Yeah, I mean, that shows how much lies beneath the surface when these top players calculate. I mean, rook b1 in that position, just a calm kind of pinning move, counter-attacking move. That's not obvious at all, but both players clearly had that on their radar, and now bishop takes b4. What's your first instinct here, Peter? I would be, again, getting lost in the maze of calculation after knight takes e5. Or,
yeah, and look at not only the position, but Lanier's clock. He's down to 12.5 minutes. Okay, they already made 27 moves, so one could make a case that it's only only certain moves to be played till the time control, but the position is so complex. As you said, yeah, we are just trying to understand what happens. There are so many different options. Okay, I believe that bishop takes b4 is kind of a natural choice. However, then black will take on b4 with the tempo, eventually have a chance to set up some queen d6, knight e7 to c6 blockade, protecting that knight and protecting the pawn. So what is white exactly doing? How is he reacting?
Yeah, if you can't guarantee that you win your pawn back after bishop takes b4 after trading off those pieces, then you can't really go for that, or at least you reluctantly go for it. Okay, he has taken back. And what now? You need to be really accurate, I guess, with where we put the queen. We'll find out. Queen move incoming from Lenier. He needs to move. Like you said, 12 minutes. And this one, the stakes are high. If he doesn't win this pawn back, he's just going to be pretty much losing. Queen to a3?
Yes, I also feel like queen a3 will be the move, and I'm expecting from the body language of Lenier that he makes this move almost automatically. I mean, he did spend time on bishop takes before he had calculated this position, and it just makes so much sense, because if black is trying to set up something like this queen d6, knight ec7, knight ec6, pardon me, then the spin along the a3, f8 diagonal, I mean, eventually for some knight takes e5 or some rook takes c6, idea will be there just to set that up. Okay, if black plays a move like queen d6, we make, for example, just to pass to highlight this, that if black plays the move knight e7 to c6, seemingly protecting everything, that's exactly when things are falling apart, because white has rook takes c6, lovely tactics, and everything falls on the diagonal. So there is so much at stake, and queen a3 played.
Beautiful idea there on the diagonal. That means Fabi's likely to drop back with his knight.
But he's unable. Then also rook takes c6 comes.
Yeah, wait, I'm blundering everything. You have to play queen d6.
Yes, you have to play queen d6. Yeah, basically then he will blitz this move out. And the big question is, the move knight takes e5 is there, but this rook on c1 is hanging. Yeah, it drives me crazy. Yes, I don't know. Knight e5, queen takes b4. Eventually somewhere some queen f4 might be there. Also rook takes f2.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, just too many tactics, yeah? Hanging. Let's just highlight this because it's beautiful. And takes, and then rook f8 takes f2. It was the move that feels very strong. Black is threatening to capture the knight, so there is no time to pick that knight up on e7, and after king takes f2, queen f4 check comes with a very unpleasant check because there is nowhere to go. King g1 runs into queen takes c1 check, and king e2 runs into simply queen takes c1, queen takes e7, and then queen e3 check. And then black just captures everything.
Everything with gain of tempo. And of course, Lenier spots this. Fabi had kind of hoped for this from afar, this trick, rook takes f2. I did see rook takes f2 in the featured chat like 5-10 minutes ago, so whoever spotted that, well done. I didn't know which game it was. I was like, which game rook takes f2? But clearly it was that variation. And instead, Dominguez plays knight e2. So keeping the tension on the diagonal, as you mentioned, Peter.
Yes, making sure that rook takes f2 won't be a threat, and probably, after all, we were talking about that white should somehow take back the pawn, and knight takes e5 might become a threat.
Also, maybe knight e takes d4, followed by e5, and queen takes b4 in some positions. Some tactics here. Black is awkwardly pinned. And meanwhile, I should mention that these two, as well as being good friends, training partners, they do have history. Caruana is currently up in their head-to-head by 1 win. He's won 3, Dominguez has won 2. And they last played in the World Cup in 2009, so 14 years ago. And even though Caruana was pretty young at the time, he did manage to win, despite 2 classical draws eventually in the playoffs, in the tiebreaks. So yeah, this one, history repeating itself. Who would you take here, Peter? Because I'm having a tough time calling it.
Well, I feel like now I would like to be white, because the fact that black is somehow stuck, yeah, it's not entirely obvious what is the next move. The fact that knight e7 to c6 is not possible, and it's not possible in the long term. And if black tries to stabilize that queen on d6 in order to get knight c6 going, then clearly white will take on e5. Now also the rook has moved away from the f file, not ideal. And for example, something like queen takes e5, queen takes b4 should be slightly better for white. I mean, rook c5 also incoming, the pawn on b5 is vulnerable. So I do believe that the pressure is now on Fabi.
Yeah, very much so. It feels like he's got to give back the pawn, just under which circumstances. And maybe he'll burn a lot of his time advantage on this one moment. Knight e2, I've got to say, really clever move there from Dominguez. Really classy move. Just passing the turn back to black.
He is so precise. I mean, I'm really loving the play of Lanier. First of all, he plays positions that he really believes and he feels them perfectly. Yeah, he has the soul, the essence of all his positions. He's not the guy who jumps too much in the opening, especially with the white pieces. He's trying to rely on his 1e4 move, and inside this, the Ruy Lopez and the Italian structures. I mean, like we talked about, this could have been an anti-Marshall very easily, which Lenny has also studied for the last 20 years. It's so nice to see this deepness. And basically, based on this deepness, he gets the confidence, yeah, and he knows exactly that the position gives him the right to fight for an advantage. That's why he also goes down to 12 minutes, because he knows that he has things under control if he plays correctly.
Yeah, really instructive for everyone out there who's learning new openings. I'm always asked, what new opening should players learn? Sometimes just your own opening, just some details within it, just go a bit deeper. And you can get to the very top of world chess if you know your own openings inside out, if you know them better than your opponent. And let's leave Fabiano to mull over this decision. Looks a bit tough for him right now. No obvious moves. And maybe we can check out Magnus Carlsen's game against Gukesh. This one has changed. A set of rooks are off the board. The question is whether the evaluation has changed. Is it still as unpleasant for Gukesh as we were predicting earlier? Now it's only 3 pawns versus 3 pawns. But black is the only one with a pass pawn, the e-pawn. Peter, first instincts here?
First instinct is that very dangerous for white. I mean, if white could simply trade the pawns with c4, then everything would be fine. However, c4 is met by a very unpleasant rook g3 check. And basically, I don't know what to do, because giving up a pawn is not what I'm dreaming of. But if I just stay passive, then I don't believe that white can play passive. I mean, just making a... First of all, we can't get c3, c4 going. Yeah, just we cannot prepare this move. This is the biggest problem in white's position.
Yeah, you can't prepare it ever, right? Just the rook and or king are going to be tied down. And okay, he plays the move rook to a2. Looks like as good a waiting move as any if he can't push his c-pawn. And whoa, the evaluation bar reacts. I see in the featured chat there, Peter, it says c4 is the only move apparently.
Yeah,
question mark given to this one.
Yeah, computer was highlighting that c4 was the only move, but to my eyes, okay, it was just, okay, very quickly to explain why c4 was so difficult. Yeah, after c4, black gives a check, then computer says, you know what, you have to play the move rook f3, then okay, as human, you calculate b takes c4 check, king takes c4, and rook takes g2, and why wouldn't this double pawns win the game? I mean, the white pawn on b4 doesn't look frightening at all. I mean, everything that this is a draw that can only be done by a supercomputer. No human or not even the little older, weaker engines would be able to get that. That's some super call. I'm completely shocked. And the move rook a2 is the human move, because white wants to create some counterplay against the king, rook a5 targeting that b5 pawn. By the way, Magnus has already played his move. He played rook g5.
Wow, mysterious. I guess indirectly aiming to protect his b-pawn. If white does go hunting with rook a5, he'll be ready to push f4. But a miss, according to the computer. We see the definition of a miss. Yeah, he had a better opportunity. King d6 looks very natural and was potentially stronger.
Well, the move is natural, but I think we have to highlight the line that white is natural for, I mean, it's good for computer, but for human brain, I mean, what is this? Rook takes g2, rook takes b5 check, king e4. Okay, it's a big race. How do you evaluate that this rook b8, for example, f4, b5 followed by rook f8 is exactly winning for black? It's not easy. I mean, definitely not easy. And Magnus maybe should have sensed the moment to spend more time on it. That's one thing. On the other hand, he looks at the clock. Gukesh is down to 10 minutes. So he was kind of tempted to just make a move. A nice prophylactic, as you pointed out, rook a5 is met by f4. Pass the ball back to Gukesh. And the position is still looking very shaky for white.
Yeah, I think great practical decision. The other one, maybe Magnus realized it was strong, but at least Gukesh's moves would be immediate. He has no options after king d6. He has to go for that race that you highlighted. So Gukesh would easily have made move 40. And for Magnus, it's a gamble. It's like, objectively, if it's winning, great. If it's not, then he's kind of blown it, or blown a big opportunity. Now, I don't see any natural moves for white still. This just looks, from a practical point of view, almost hopeless.
Exactly. And that's why also Magnus played the move rook g5, which is criticized by the computer, but might be a practically easily winning move. According to the computer, because I would not be able to navigate myself, so I have to rely on computer. Rook a5, f4, so falling into black's idea. And now it's very important that you start bringing the king back. You kind of provoke that f5, f4 move, so that white's king will have access to some squares. And after rook takes g2 check, king d3, rook g5. This is still, I think, within the reach of the player's calculation. And something like king e4, rook f5, and just start checking. I mean, this just start checking is, I think, so difficult, because humanly it would be so tempting to stop that pawn with king f3. However, king f3, king d6 is a resigned territory. Just goes on to show that how mysterious and difficult this endgame is.
That is, wow. I mean, this line, if Gukesh finds it, hats off to him. He will deserve the draw that he might get. But this is not easy, to give up a pawn with check in a rook endgame, to give your opponent two connected pass pawns, and then to be accurate enough to check your opponent at the right time. I mean, he's walking on a tightrope here, Gukesh, and only 8 minutes to make 6 more moves. Oof, I don't know. I think even Magnus himself here, if he were white, would struggle to find that one. I guess process of elimination is the only way. You don't have anything other than rook a5 here, pretty much. But yes, yeah, to calculate that and to evaluate it is tough.
I think this is the point, yeah, that however, usually if you have a lot of time, you have chance to eliminate options. Yeah, Gukesh does not have this luxury here. He already has only less than 8 minutes. He has to make up his mind pretty soon. On the other hand, because of the 30 seconds increment, if he feels that this is a decisive moment, then he has to burn maybe even all his time. Even if he makes a move with 30 seconds on the clock, but he understands that this is the only direction and relies on the 30 seconds increment, it's worth it, because just one rushing move will lead to total disaster, and it does not matter if you have 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, or just 1 minute on the clock. Also, a lot of nerves, because we know exactly that the players want to get to the semifinals in order to qualify for the candidates. And it's clearly Gukesh had been on fire recently, certainly eyeing that opportunity. But if he loses this game, then he will need to win on demand with the black pieces against Magnus Carlsen, which is basically almost like impossible. So much pressure on him. He has to hold this game at all cost.
Yeah, golden ticket for the candidates is the big prize. Of course, lots of money at stake as well. But yeah, it's just getting to that semifinals that's in Gukesh's mind. But rook a5, he needs to play it. We should mention to the viewers, anything else is just passive. If you wait with the white rook on the second rank, black will slowly improve the king, slowly start pushing his pawns, and it's like a slow death. And nothing worse in chess than giving your opponent easy moves to make progress. Yeah, the king is coming. So, okay, should we stay here? Should we wait for Gukesh to make the move? He has to play rook a5. Otherwise, he's going to lose this game and might be heading towards elimination. I think maybe, Peter, we let him make this decision. We'll come back. We'll update everyone, because there is drama in the game between Tan Zhongyi and Goyachkina in the women's section. It looks like, maybe let's zoom out of this one. It looks like Goyachkina is about to convert. She has a big advantage. We were predicting this one earlier would go in black's favor, and it is going in black's favor. And there we see the bird's eye view. A lot of games, clock's ticking down.
Well, it also shows that how concrete chess is. Because if white would be able to get rook d2 and knight d3 in, we'll be saying that white is completely out of the woods and maybe it is black who is risking. But it's all dependent on this tactical idea that after a move like rook d2, okay, rook d2 actually is runs into rook c1. I wanted to highlight the other problem, like rook takes d2, bishop g5. This pin is a huge problem, and after g3, black breaks with the thematic h4. So yes, computer was highlighting that rook c1 check is even stronger, but I do believe that the whole problem is this pinning issue. And if white is not able to set up this defense, then actually might just end up losing the a2 pawn, because black is starting to capture on f2, give rook c2 check, collect, and this knight, which could be such a powerful piece, is still not finding time to enter the game.
Yeah, you're right. So close to being a good knight versus bad bishop scenario, but white's just one move too slow. And okay, 10 minutes for Tan Zhongyi to try and defend this one. How bad is it, those lines with rook d2? I mean, it looks like that's the only hope. Otherwise, you let black infiltrate on the second rank.
Well, I mean, I have access to the computer and I can tell you that it's -3.
Oof, okay,
yes. I mean, but of course the players don't have access to the computer, so definitely they are playing the game. They feel that yes, it's an awkward situation for white, and the big question is what is the move. But if we would have come back to this position without knowing that this is a critical moment, we would have been thinking that yes, it's tough for white, but there should be somehow a way to defend the position. And knowing the computer evaluation, of course, now it's very difficult to try to be clever.
Yeah, it's looking very difficult for Tan Zhongyi here. Just feels like she's about to lose a pawn for no compensation. Meanwhile, Peter, let's go back to the Magnus game, because Gukesh has not played rook to a5, and it looks like he is now losing objectively. Magnus quickly playing his response as well, putting pressure on the clock, on the board. Look at this, under 5 minutes for Gukesh against 31 minutes. Magnus working his endgame magic. And g-pawn simply dropping.
Yeah, I mean, rook a7, check, king f6, that line with rook a5 was so insane, and that's why I don't like when computer question marks or does not show enough respect for a move like rook g7 to g5. Practically speaking, it was a monster of a move, and luckily we had that moment, and we also understood why computer was thinking it's a mistake, but it's just completely unhuman. Now everything is working in perfection, just as Magnus had imagined with the move rook g5. And then it turns out that rook g5 was indeed a very strong move, not a mistake.
Yeah, I think Gukesh needed 4 hours on the clock, let alone 4 minutes, to find that ingenious defense with rook a5, giving up the pawn and running with the white king towards the king side. That was so tricky. And yeah, in practical terms, this one looks over. What can white even try? If you go passive, if you drop white's rook back to the second rank, you're going to die eventually. Black's pawns roll. Rook to b7, I guess, is just met by pawn to f4, but you could maybe even start a race. Maybe that's winning for black as well.
Well, I feel like if he has already given the check on a7, that probably he is planning to play rook b7. Of course, the move f4 is very much in the plan of black, and now white has to start running with the king. I only don't know that, yes, what happened?
He dropped his rook back to a2, so not
back
going for
to
this.
a2. Okay.
Okay, now Magnus is going to gain a couple of moves for free. Is it time to start activating the king, start pushing the pawns? Spoiled for choice.
Yes, I think like they are just coming together. Yeah, f4 is beautiful because it opens up the rook. It opens up the king's position also. For example, after f4 already e5, king f5, e4, also the king can be activated. Magnus also makes sure that after c4, there's always a rook g3 check. Actually, the more I look at it, the more hopeless it looks. I just don't see any defense for white.
You basically have no next move, as you say, Peter. I mean, next you have to move the white rook away in order to simply bring the white king back or to push c4. But I mean, that's where the rook was 3 moves ago. He's lost 3 moves for free in a race. That's essential. It feels like Gukesh panicking with the clock ticking, but understandably. I mean, it's a really difficult position. This is why we were saying earlier, don't get into these endgames against Magnus. He's going to slowly break your spirit. And he's outmaneuvered Gukesh here.
I'm thinking that maybe Gukesh was trying to, f4 played, was trying to force that king to f6 in order to go rook c2, and then try to push c4, and against rook g3 check to play the move rook c3. And close the eyes, and he believes that passive defense probably will lead to a loss, so he has to try. That's the only way, and then maybe it was important for him to kick that king away from the b pawn as far as possible.
Yeah, Looks like he's got to try something like this, at least start a race, at least get a past pawn. White's king just too far away, and you predicted rook c2 on the board. And now the question is, does black hold you up with rook g3 for one more move? Does black just continue pushing the pawns?
I feel like rook g3 is a very brutal move, because the whole hope of white is based on the fact that you want to get counterplay. But after rook g3, you can't push the pawn, you have to fall back with the king, but then black just activates the king to e5, makes further progress, and after c4, b takes c4, we will never get any counterplay because the pawn is falling with check. Black's king is also getting much closer to the b pawn. And also one highlight that after rook g3, just let me show this move because maybe it's a little difficult to show from with arrows, that even the idea with pushing the pawn with b5 runs into rook b3 check and the pawn is falling. I don't see any counterplay for white after rook g3. And Magnus, knowing Magnus, it's just a matter of seconds when we will see rook g3 on the board.
Yeah, unfortunately for Gukesh, black's moves are also very natural, even if it wasn't Magnus right now. But yeah, rook g3 would be sadistic, just cutting across the opponent's plans. I think this one might be over by the time control. Gukesh needs a trick, but Magnus isn't feeling merciful today. Oof. Yeah, this is tough. I mean, this happens to all of us. I've lost track of the number of times Magnus has ground me down in an endgame when we play Blitz. Pieces just end up on good squares, and somehow you always end up passive against him. It's crazy, this knack he has. And Gukesh will learn from this, of course. There we go, rook g3 on the board, pinning the c-pawn.
On the board, yes.
King b2, you could tell body language there, Gukesh losing belief.
King a2, king a2, ooh. Yes, because he's trying c4 and b5. I mean, this is the only chance. The only problem is that it's completely lost because black's king is just way too close to the action. There is no hope.
Yeah, that's a nice touch though from Gukesh. We've got to praise him for that, king a2, stepping out of those checking ideas that we mentioned. But still, the race is not really a race here. King e5, how difficult do you think that is for Magnus right now?
Not difficult at all. It's basically the move that he would play in a bullet game. I think it's his instinct. He is just now posing, and this is absolutely correct. Why should he rush? He has 28 minutes. He feels that the position is now definitely objectively winning. He just has to make sure that he calculates some forcing direct lines. And the fact why we appreciate king e5 so much is that after c4, b takes c4, I don't know. Yes, probably white starts with rook b2 or b5, but whatever, black's king is very much in control of the b pawn. Yeah.
You're in the square, you're in the box. King d5 looks like it's going to come.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I just don't see the drama. The fact, however, that Magnus is taking his time, it's absolutely correct. That's how you have to approach such situations.
Yeah, very professional. Pause just to double check. Don't give your opponent even a glimmer of hope. Yeah, do you think he's going to be able to fight back? You mentioned, Peter, like it's an impossible task. Nearly nobody has ever done that on demand against Magnus with the black pieces, but he's got a belief. Gukesh, he's done it before. He's beaten very strong players with black pieces.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, we have been covering the Champions Chess Tour. We know exactly what happens, and Magnus always states in every of his interview, well, if I go up on the scoreboards, then good luck to my opponents. And I hardly recall any scenario when his opponents were able to come back. It was always a question like, if Magnus has a rough start and he loses because of some mystical reasons, then he's still capable. Yeah, we always kind of believe that he can pull it off, but especially with the black pieces, how you do that, I can't really imagine.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. And yeah, heartbreak, of course, for Gukesh if he does lose as expected. And yeah, especially with the white pieces. That's why we were saying minimal risk. That tends to be the approach by a lot of top players, experienced players in these knockout formats. But he's got to this point by taking a lot of risks, Gukesh, and he's been consistent. Okay. What do you think, Peter? Should we stay here till the end? Should we check in on some of the other games?
Well, I feel like I think king e5 is like the final ceiling move, and probably Magnus will play that move pretty quickly now, his body language, but you might know him better than me. But to me, it looks like he's about to make a move.
Yeah, let's wait for Magnus's move. If he plays king e5, I think we can write this one off as a win for black. Just black's king doing dual purpose work there. Anything else? Does white get a chance? I mean,
well, probably not, but then there is something to calculate at least.
Yeah, at least that would open the door slightly for Gukesh with his potential past b pawn there.
Yes, because what are the alternatives? Otherwise, black pushes e5 or pushes king f5. I mean, king f5 is clearly inferior to king e5. The king is then just further away from the b pawn. There could be a case that if Magnus feels like, you know what, I don't have to see ghosts. Let me calculate these lines like with e5, c4. I mean, after all, I'm so much ahead in all these ways. B takes c4. What am I afraid of? Yeah, b5. Where does this lead? I'm not really seeing, but I'm. Yes, I look at. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the screen, so I'm not the right. You know, I see the engine line. So please tell me what are your instincts to be able to think like a chess player over the board.
I mean, I agree. King e5. I mean, it's kind of textbook rook endgames. You activate your king, you kind of prevent the opponent's counterplay. But yeah, here I'm just rook b2 is the only question that you could calculate. If he works out that this is winning for black, this pawn endgame, then he could go for something like this. If not, then...
But it's only winning in one way. Everything else is a draw. So that's why I feel like, humanly speaking, you just don't want to put yourself in a shoe like this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to go for e4. Close your eyes and go for e4 and calculate.
Yeah, and of course, Magnus doesn't want to calculate king e5 on the board. Of course.
Yes.
Now king b2 from Gukesh. Yeah, his king could have gone to b2 last move, so I guess that's an admission, basically, that things have gone wrong.
Yeah, I mean, basically, king e5 just wins the game. Now, all the races are won by black. Black gets another extra move. I think it's fair enough to move on to something else. Do you have a suggestion? Is somewhere things heating up?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about a couple of games for a while. Vidit against Abasov is still this endgame, still looks very balanced. Maybe we just do a very quick check-in there. We see that game happening behind Gukesh and Magnus on the camera. I just want to mention as well that Abasov has, I mean, they're at move 50 now. Abasov has 1 hour 15 on his clock. So I don't think we need to do too deep a dive, but just a quick update into this game. This is the current position. Hasn't changed much at all. Black still has this passed e-pawn.
It's fairly balanced, and I think if now white plays the move king g2, then we might be in for a repetition of moves with rook h4, king g3, rook h8. It's kind of a logical outcome of this well-played game by both sides. And what else? What happened in the Dominguez-Caruana game?
Yeah, we should just point out there was a threat of bishop h4, and okay, Vidit didn't go for the repetition, so that game will continue even if it's balanced. And this one, the queens are off, Peter, and we're past the time control, however. No,
it's just move 33.
Just
we
move 33.
Didn't pass anything.
Okay, sorry, I was looking at the other game, the move counter. Okay, queens and knights off the board.
Yes, but there is a very specific pawn structure. Yeah, I mean, clearly white is pushing because all of black's pawns are vulnerable. You will have to give up some of them in order to get counterplay. Where do we put that rook?
Yeah, we want to be behind the passed pawn, but the d4 pawn is hanging.
Yes, for example, rook. I mean, just to highlight, yeah, rook b6 is the move that we talked about to be behind the pawn, but then the white captured on d4, and I think if black goes for knight g6, we might have rook c6. Is that an issue?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is an issue. Yeah, this is a big problem, huge problem.
Very nice there. And the knight on c6 will protect everything. Okay, so where to go?
Yes, that's the very big question. And by the way, Fabiano is now behind on the clock. So he had 20 minutes time advantage, he had half an hour time advantage. But finally, Lenier basically haven't spent a single second. In fact, he gained time on the clock ever since we left. Just very quickly to go back to understand how did it happen. Queen a3, queen d6, knight e2, rook d8, knight takes d5, knight bc6, queen takes d6, rook d6, f4. I'm loving this move, f4. It's a very high class move. Very classy takes. And what else? Rook d7 or rook a6? Yeah, those are our options, or even rook c6. Crazy position.
Crazy position. Rook c6, I'm slightly afraid of just rook to b1. And again, 2 pawns are hanging. Feels like you'll have to defend some pawn down position there. Rook a6 might be the way, just going active. And it's only because this variation you mentioned, rook c6 was a really annoying resource there. But this time I guess the b5 pawn's not protected. This is difficult.
I mean, very difficult. According to computer, black has to play the move knight g6. Black has to find this move, and after knight takes b5, not to capture on e5, but to go for knight f4. Oh my god! Okay, this is completely insane stuff. It's like you deserve a Nobel Prize if you find moves like this in time travel.
Yeah, Fabi's found more difficult moves than this one in his career, but this one he has to spot from afar right now. So 3 or 4 moves in advance. And especially when he has 3 or 4 alternatives, this is not obvious. So the idea is just to go for the d pawn, which is more valuable than the e5 pawn. Oof.
Yes, and this monster knight on f4, yeah, heading towards knight e2 fork, knight takes d3, and setting up counterplay on the second rank against the pawn on g2. Wow, if he finds this would be fantastic save.
Yeah, and it's definitely a case of a save right now. It's two results, it feels like. Fabiano playing for the draw, which he should achieve. Rook b6 though, Peter. Ooh, we didn't like this one.
No, not at all. Yeah, knight takes d4, and yes, go on.
Sorry, his idea must be to play b4 here before it's too late.
Yeah, but then white also has something like knight b3, and we can stabilize our center with the d4 move.
Oof. I think big winning
Fabiano, chances. Yes, in big trouble.
Okay, Dominguez, he's played so quickly and so confidently these last few moves. And Fabiano still hasn't played b4. Maybe only now it's dawning on him that knight g6, rook c6, as you highlighted, is catastrophic for black, almost.
Yeah, it is catastrophic. I mean, but then, yeah, he has to play b4 and then knight b3, then try to activate the rook with rook a6 as quickly as possible. I don't think that black has the right to be passive for one more move. Then it will be just hopeless.
Ooh, but he didn't play rook b6 in order to just play rook a6 2 moves later. That's big miss there from Fabiano. And that, again, that's the pressure of the World Cup. That's the pressure of the clock ticking, the stakes that they're playing for right now. Oh, knight g6 on the board. Blunder, wow. Peter.
Well, but it's the logical follow-up, as you mentioned, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is they say mistakes come in pairs. This is a prime example of that. Do you think Lenier is just going to blitz rook c6 now?
No, knowing him, he won't be blitzing it, because he senses that, okay, this is a golden opportunity. I still have 5 more moves to play, but I have 12.5 minutes with 30 seconds increment. This is the moment to be tranquilo, yeah, just to calm yourself down, make sure that the nerves won't be playing tricks on you. And he knows exactly that that this rook c6 position looks very promising.
Wow, we came in at the right moment. It was objectively in the balance, but difficult in practical terms for Fabiano. And yeah, I think I would have made similar mistakes to him. I think it's just he's played the natural moves. Unfortunately, they just haven't worked. And there we go, mistake according to the game review, but only if Lenier finds a rook to c6. Yeah, once but you spot it.
Yes, sorry. And look at the body language. I feel like, you know, because I'm so happy that we have these cameras and everything, and I feel like Lenier believes, yeah, that this is now an incredible big chance. He has tremendous respect of Fabi. So I'm not sure that, you know, people they also ask that, okay, what do you expect from a match? Basically, you don't expect anything. Yeah, you know that you are playing on the highest level. You have to give your best. And even if you give your best, it might not be enough, yeah, because you simply know that your opponent is also so tough. But when suddenly you feel like I have a chance, and if I play it now correctly, then I might win. And if I win, I have all the chances to knock Fabiano Caruana out of the World Cup. That's a crazy big moment, yeah. Then you have to make sure that you calm yourself down as much as you can, because just these kind of thoughts can also distract you from the moment.
Yeah. If I could count the number of times that I've frozen in winning positions against strong players, yeah, then I'd be a rich man. But yeah, it's going to be difficult, the conversion stage with nerves, especially even if he finds rook c6 even. But there we go, it's on the board. Classy move.
Yes. I mean, everybody have witnessed what Dominguez has done against Sarana. That was some incredible precision game in the previous round, knocking out Sarana with a superbly played game with so many very long tactical lines, always in total control, not missing a single detail. I mean, for such a player, I have to say that when I saw this f4 move, I felt like f4 was a very classy move, and it completely disbalanced Fabiano. It could have been that from a distance, Fabi has underestimated the move of f4, and he's paying the price for it. He's in a lot of trouble now.
Yeah, f4, it does look like it ruins white's pawn structure, but more importantly, just dynamically, it kind of kicked the black rook off balance, and he chose the wrong square for that rook. Yeah, always those unexpected moves when the clock is ticking have such a big effect. And okay, how would we try and defend this? We're talking about potentially a knight endgame, a pawn down, and we know that those are tricky at the best of times. White's d pawn will be ready to roll if the rooks disappear from the board.
Yes, so basically, we are talking about takes. If white gets time to protect the pawn on e5, the b pawn is not moving, then we get similar endgame like what happened between Vincent and Magnus, that is just hopeless. So b4, knight takes b4, knight takes e5, but it does feel like this is a very bad knight endgame. I mean, white can play d4, white can just bring his king to the center. With the passed pawn, it should be a win. I assume it should be a win. And then the big question is there a case to be made that, okay, let's forget about everything. We understand that rook takes e6 is like a slow dead, and we try to gamble with something like rook b7, rook takes e6, and then b4, knight b3, and then try to go rook c7 and try to get active somehow.
Yeah, this one, again, you don't get good feelings, but at least some active play. How about knight to f4 instead of b4, a couple of moves back? Sorry, Peter.
After rook e6?
Just to try and win that d3 pawn.
Yes, okay, then I was thinking like maybe rook d6. Okay, let's highlight knight takes d3, e6.
Yeah, just too quick.
It's too strong. Especially because I see that it's +5, you know, it's I mean it's crazy. Yeah, it's otherwise it's not obvious at all. I'm expecting that Fabi might try something of a rook move.
Yeah, he's got to choose between two poisons here. Either he goes for that long endgame, as you say, where it's going to be hopeless long term, or he keeps the rooks on. I think this latter option is going to happen.
It happened already. Yes, yeah. Rook b7 on the board.
And how accurate does white need to be here? Rook takes e6 looks like the only logical move.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to... yes. Okay, there is a case to be made, but knight takes e6 runs into knight e5, so that's a case that this is eliminated. Of course, rook takes e6 is the move that you want to play, but you have to calculate this knight f4, knight takes d3, because usually humans are afraid of connected pass pawns. Yeah, if you get a chance to eliminate one of the connected pass pawns, you feel like, all right, it's not great, but I might be able to somehow defend that position.
Yeah, rook takes e6 on the board, and Fabiano pushes. So exactly what you predicted. He's gambling on the fact that his rook will get active. Okay,
yeah, knight b3, rook c7. Yeah, and now we appreciate what computer was saying, that rook a6, just give up all your pawns immediately. But there the black pawn on e6 was still alive. That was the key difference.
Yeah, knight to b3 predicted here.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then rook c7.
Yeah. At least he's posing a couple of questions here, Fabiano. Good practical decision. Meanwhile, we should mention one update. The game between Anna Muzychuk and Salimova has ended in a draw. And we'll do a bit of a recap later on. It feels like Goryachkina as well is on the brink of victory, as predicted, as we mentioned a bit earlier. against Tan Zhongyi. There we see Salamova leaving the board. Good result for her. Draw with black against a significantly higher rated opponent.
Yeah, of course, it's great. On the other hand, Anna Moziciuk was incredibly powerful with the black pieces against Elizabeth Petz in the previous round. Yeah, so I believe she gets a lot of confidence out of this, that yes, there was even a moment when she had to bounce back with the black pieces in the rapid portion, I believe. So definitely she had that scare. She might have faced elimination, but bouncing back with the black pieces, I think, gives you this invincible feeling, yeah, that if I was able to handle this situation, then I'm ready for any challenge.
Yeah, so big day tomorrow for both of those two players. And we'll keep you updated with other results. We're approaching move 40. I think we might stick it until move 40. And then we'll do a quick recap of the other games. I should mention Magnus Carlsen and Gukesh. They have passed that magical move 40 mark. Gukesh is away from the board. He knows that he's losing. Not much has changed on the position. So we'll do an update there a bit later on as well. And the other games look pretty balanced in the quarterfinals here of the open section. Okay, Rook C7, Peter.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it has to be played. Yeah, it has to be played. There is just no other move. It's the only chance. Because now, is there a case to be made for knight f4 to start with knight f4? But I feel like then the e-pawn will be much faster. Yeah, like knight f4, rook d6, rook c7, e6. And black is just not able to generate any counterplay. So yeah, rook c7 played on the board.
And,
how would you handle this position?
Yeah, stabilization seems like the name of the game. Not immediately obvious. The rook's tied down to the e-pawn. Rook c3 is a threat. I mean, first instinct, I want to play d4, but that's without any calculation whatsoever.
Yeah, then, okay, d4, rook c3, and there is something at least to talk about.
Yeah, the problem is I wanted to play knight c5 here, but knight f4 to e2, an idea we discussed a bit earlier, could potentially be powerful.
And then the knight is hanging with the tempo.
Yeah. So again, it's just playing for these tricks as black, but it's what you got to do.
Yes, that's what you have to. I mean, the big question is that, is the move rook b6 possible? That can we somehow control everything with a move like rook b6, or this rook c3, rook takes b4, rook takes d3, for example, is something that is a little bit disturbing, because I do see this line that takes, rook takes d3, and then e6, and the knight will be able to protect both pawns. This is what attracts me to this line so much, and with the e-pawn on the board, black's rook will never be able to guard that e-pawn from behind, and if it's not able to guard from behind, then I feel like white should be just winning this.
Yeah, this is a case of double pawns being really useful, because one double pawn blocks the black rook's access to the other. Yeah, actually, in practical terms as well, this looks super safe and kind of inevitable that white's going to win. So rook b6 looks like a good way to go.
Basically, rook b6. Another line to calculate: rook b6, knight takes e5. Yeah, grabbing the pawn. Then white plays the move d4. Let's just put it on the board. Lenny is still thinking, and he will be thinking some more. Then the case was to push d4, and now we have still the connected pawns. The rook is behind the pawn. Ideally placed, black has to lose a tempo with his knight. Probably jumps to d3, protecting the pawn on b4. And now it's the question, how do we play this position?
Yeah, at least for me, this would make me pause, because it feels like black's got some counterplay. The b-pawn's still alive. Stakes are suddenly, I mean, the margin for error is suddenly a bit smaller.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this one doesn't look so clear at all. Also, white's king on g1 is not able to join the center.
Maybe it's relevant that d5 here, Peter, and there's no time for rook c3 because of d6. Maybe.
Yes, it's correct. I mean, it was the choice of the computer also, saying that it's kind of winning. I only like to pause and to give our feelings as well, yeah, that it feels that black is generating some counterplay, but yes, that's why you have to spend all your energy. You have to calculate very precisely every single line. You just can't stop at some moment when it feels like, okay, it's not so easy. I want to find an easier win, because on high-level games, there always will be some crazy amount of resistance. In order to win, you have to be ready to enter all these sharp lines, move per move lines, which you have to calculate like a machine.
Yeah, and for a moment there, we saw in the camera Magnus Carlsen getting up, watching the games. Of course, he'll be very interested in the potential results of this one. And that does also mean that Gukesh is back at the board, mulling over that lost position that we discussed a bit earlier. So, okay, we're closing in on move 40 in this game. Lenya still pausing. Big moment, rook b6. Or not rook b6. Looks like a winning move.
Yeah, and so important, basically for the whole match, for the whole World Cup, for the fight for the candidates. It's clear that if Lenya wins this game, it's nothing over, because Fabiano will have the white pieces, he will have all the chances to bounce back. But I would give the case that if Lenya is not converting this, that would be such a heartbreak for him, because he knows that this was an opportunity of a lifetime. I mean, when do you get such a chance beating Fabiano from an end game? Yes, it's difficult, it's not easy yet, but there is no real counterplay, no threat against your king. You should be able to navigate this somehow.
Yeah. Okay, long think here. He spent more than half of his remaining time on this one move, but it will be worth it if he finds the move rook to b6. Peter, we mentioned d4 as well. Does that blow some of the advantage, or is it still, you think, winning here?
Well, the computer says that after d4, rook c3, the strange and ugly move knight a5, it's not the intuitive move, it's still good enough for white. But I feel like it's so awkward. You definitely, if you play d4, you would like to continue with knight c5, which is a mistake due to this knight f4, knight e2 trick that you very nicely highlighted. So it's a big moment. It's a big moment because clearly Lenya would like to play d4 if not for this problem with his knight. Otherwise, he has to calculate all the lines with rook b6.
Yeah, and he's in calculation mode. You see on the camera there, Dominguez. Okay, well, I see in the featured chat as well, people talking about Fabi making a comeback tomorrow. He's not out of this one yet, especially if rook b6 doesn't land on the board this moment. Oof, yeah, I was looking at my World Cup, and in both the tiebreak games and in the classical games, I made mistakes in and around move 40. So yeah, I think that's natural for all of these players. Big moment, 6-minute think. Surely he's going to play rook b6 after all of this. Process of elimination again.
Well, but his problem is it would be such a dream scenario if he would only have one move in this position. Yeah, but this is the problem, that he's spoiled with choice, and he might be looking at rook b6 first, then he discovers some problem like this knight takes e5, d4, knight d3 followed by rook c6 is not that clean. Then you are automatically kind of tempted to, okay, come on, but position should be winning. Then maybe d4 is better. Yeah, then you and rook b6 on the board. Very well done by Lenya.
Very well done. And now it's move 39. Just needs to make that time control. And then I think
wow. Yes, but let us highlight that how unfortunate it is for Fabiano that after d4, knight d3, they will be reaching move 40. Because that move d4, d5, yes, d4 already played, is really the only move according to computer to win for white. And it would be so difficult to, I mean, probably Lenya has foreseen it, but there would be a case to be made that it's so much more easier not to play the move d5 in time trouble than after spending something like 10 or 15 minutes here.
Yeah, poor Fabi. If this was move 39 and Dominguez only had 1 or 2 minutes, he'd bank on himself. He'd at least have some chances. But yeah, this one now, Dominguez will take a long think, and we think d5 will appear, rushing forward and winning the game. Oof. Peter, should we do a quick recap of the others before we go on a short break?
Definitely. Let's do that. So with which game do we start?
Well, firstly, we'll just, without diving in, we'll mention that Gukesh still has this lost position against Magnus. I'm not sure if he'll fight on. I think he might play a few more moves before resigning. Vidit against Abasov, still completely level. Maybe the only one that's significantly changed is Prag against Erigaisi. So maybe just a quick look there, and then we will go on a short break.
Wow, what happened here?
Oof, I'm not sure a quick look is the right word there. Maybe we'll have to unpack after the break. But definitely this one has changed.
Well, actually, I would say that we can't go on break because Prag is down to 25 seconds. We have to wait till the time trouble to be over if we have the chance, because it's so dramatic.
Yeah, I thought the position itself was dramatic enough, but the clock situation. Okay, we see Vidit on camera here. It's not his game, but we will get those cameras up in a moment. White is a piece up. White has an extra bishop, but that black d pawn's running, and Prag has made a mistake. I just see the evaluation bar. I'm not sure why it's a mistake, but bishop to g2 looks natural to kind of safeguard the white king. Now this black pawn is running.
Yeah, well, but actually it's stunning that black wins according to computer with queen b6 check, king h2, queen f2, forcing white rook to g1, and then the stunning little quiet move rook e2, which is so easy to miss. I mean, rook e2 is a key move by the computer, and then goes for d2, rook e1.
Okay, and that will be around the move 40 mark. So we were talking about how that can spoil people's chances if they're kind of itching to get to the time control, but no time to be accurate. And we could see that scenario. Black needs to give a check here. Kick the white king into the corner. Okay, 40 seconds for Prag. Oof, nightmare situation.
Yeah, he played his last move with 10 seconds. It was a mistake, but he sensed that this is a critical moment, but he did not have more time to think, and finally opted for bishop g2, trying to stabilize the situation. But according to computer, this is losing. The big question is queen b6 check, queen f2. I feel like it's kind of natural in the sense that we know exactly that Arjun has this incredible vision of the whole board. But then spotting rook e2, which will be move 40, I believe it will be move 40. That will be the decisive moment.
Peter, I think I've spotted a really important detail as well. After queen b6 check, queen c5 is impossible because of queen takes queen and then rook takes g2, just to stop the white bishop from stopping the d pawn.
Wow, yes, that's beautiful. But also d2 wins on the spot.
Oof,
but
okay. That was too simple for me.
Yeah, but let's just show that, yeah, this is also a fantastic idea. And both pawns on e6 and d2 make sure that white's rook is not able to fight against the d2 pawn. So all eyes on Arjun. This is such a tense moment. That's a incredible opportunity. However, the players don't know what's going on, and definitely at the end of the day, Prag will be relying on some queen e7 counterplay. After rook g1, rook e2, the crazy computer move, Prag will try the move queen e7, setting up ideas with queen f6 check, trading queens, and then trying to fight that d2 pawn with the combination of the rook and the bishop.
Yeah, this is not easy for Erigaisi. We should highlight that, especially with under 1 minute on the clock now. It's only a very, very narrow path to victory, and it's not an obvious one, not natural, that rook e2 move, especially. Okay, moment of truth is incoming. Around 40 seconds each. He's reaching out. Is he going to give the check with his queen? It's tempting to push the pawn, but yeah, there
he
we go.
gives.
He does. He finds it.
He does, yeah.
At least the first move. Rook e2 is the difficult one in 2 moves' time, and that will be move 40 as far as I can tell, or move 39 even.
39 even, yes, exactly.
Okay. Does it matter where Prag puts his king? Hides it on h2.
Yeah, it's of course you hide on h2 just to make sure that the pawn won't promote with check, or also when black sets up this rook e2, d2 queen f2 played, rook g1 will be blitzed out, and all eyes on Arjun at this moment, this very moment. Will he find this incredible rook e2 move, which from distance computer was saying as the winning move? Maybe there are also some alternatives, but the key idea is that after rook g1, already played, of course. Yes, and rook e2 is clearly the only move to win. Unbelievable. And the main point being rook e2, queen e7, you just ignore the set of queen f6. You push the pawn to d2, queen f6 check, black simply trades, takes, and then black activates the king, marches all the way to c3. White is just too passive fighting against, and on the board. Wow, brilliant play.
Wow, Arjun Erigaisi is a superstar. Imagine finding that move with just 1 minute on the clock. It's not obvious. It's not an immediate threat. It still takes 2 or 3 moves to build up that killer threat. But yeah, this one is just paralyzed Prag's pieces. The d pawn's going to win the game. Oh, what a move.
Yeah. Unbelievable power performance by Arjun. Of course, we have witnessed him. We knew exactly that he's capable of finding. This is very much his type of chess. I believe that he is already on par with the very best in this kind of positions. Just fantastic.
Yeah, when it's a bit wild, when it's dynamic, a bit messy, he's always finding his way, navigating really well there. And it looks like Prag has to go for this queen exchange, otherwise black's just going d2, rook e1, pretty much pre-move at this point. There we go. Prag brings his queen in. We will see that endgame, but yeah, as you say, Peter, just too quick with the black king. No counterplay at all for white.
Yes. I mean, okay, there is some case to be made that eventually, I don't know, king h1 at the end of the day. And then try, yeah, d2 played. So the time control has been made. It's move 40. Yes, the position was objectively winning. I only don't know what happens with our break. Do we have a break or do we continue analyzing?
Oof, move 40. I think we might go on a very short break, but we'll leave a camera up and we'll let everyone know as the results and as the moves tick in. This one, yeah, don't go anywhere because the drama is guaranteed. We will see some results and maybe even potentially a couple of wins for the black pieces in just a few minutes' time. So we will see you soon. Stay with us.